Okay, let's start this spooky story. Back 2023, some awful things happened to someone, and no one wanted to believe them. It was just sad because they were honest the whole time, and they found that being honest is more of a character flaw, it seems like, in these days, because being honest literally didn't get him anywhere. And even if he had lied, then he would still be in the same spot that he is now. But he's sticking with what he knows, and he's not changing for anyone. Now, today, we're going to talk about the story of him saving somebody's life and just by chance stopping by and finding an elderly tenant on the floor, unable to hit her emergency button. You know, the news never covered anything like that, but what the news did cover was also misleading, because the child torture case was not necessarily a child torture, but it was more of a wife manipulating her husband who suffers from ADHD. That is the main thing. These coercive control situations or gaslighting behaviors or narcissistic tendencies, they are at an all-time high because of the people we look up to and how they act and what they've done. Now, after all that, and also being, well, basically the other employees that he worked around told him less is more because he did too much work or made them look bad, I guess. That's my best theory on that. It is truly crazy how, you know, my family would need literally no proof to believe any lie, you know, whatsoever. But if it was the truth, they would want to. There's like no amount of evidence that will ever prove to them what they already want to believe. It's kind of like the X-Files in a way. Yeah. But turns out, going through all of that, I realized that I have this disorder because of my daughter being diagnosed. And there are several other families, I'm sure hundreds actually, that are also suffering every single day because they can't get treatment or they're misdiagnosed. And according to Arkansas medical guidelines, it's you have to be diagnosed when you're 4 to 12 years old. And I can't go back in time to when I was that age and say, hey, Mom, you know, you need to pay attention to how active or, you know, ADHD, when, when even, she didn't even notice it in my nephew, and he has it to this very day. But it's just really sad. There's a lot of myths that go with ADHD, Some people show the classic symptoms of hyperactivity or fidgetiness and talking excessively, being kind of scatterbrained or unable to focus on certain things. There's a whole bunch of different symptoms that fall under emotional dysregulation. And if we treated all these cases like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, which have 5 to 10 times as many ADHD cases as Arkansas has, Arkansas would be a lot happier state because those Scandinavian countries are rated the highest in happiness and usually standardized testing. And they also go to school the fewest amount of hours every day. They allow kids to be kids. They talk to each other. They communicate. And most importantly, when diagnosing this, they get a multi-perspective approach, like the doctor, the teacher, the parent. They get several perspectives, not just one perspective. That's where basically the U.S. really needs to change its guidelines. And right now, I guess this is just an estimate, but 129,000 Arkansans have ADHD, but a significant portion goes untreated due to strict guidelines, lingering myths, and challenges that were intensified in the aftermath of the opioid epidemic. Current data shows that roughly 73% of children with diagnosed ADHD in Arkansas receive some kind of treatment. See the impact of a misdiagnosis. Strict prescribing guidelines, partly due to the concerns over substance misuse post-opioid crisis, can unintentionally reduce access to the necessary stimulant medications for legitimate ADHD patients. Many adults realize they may have ADHD only after their own children are diagnosed, while others grow up with symptoms that parents or schools misunderstood or dismissed. That sounds good, familiar. My entire family's dismissal. Estimated numbers of untreated ADHD. They're missed due to myths, stigma, or restrictive practices. These gaps underline the need for better public education, less restrictive policies, and expanded mental health support to address hidden and untreated ADHD in Arkansas. I've met 2 different women that both were physically abused. One for nearly their entire life, and the other, it's horrible. Their husband abused their child, so they had to flee. And it's hard to even imagine what they went through at all. It makes my struggle seem small, and it should make my family's even smaller, because my family knows one of them, maybe both of them possibly, but they've never took the time to ever listen to either of their stories or try and understand them, which is normal for my family. My family's just like non-existent. But the thing is that there are so many other people out there suffering from this who deserve some kind of support and need support that I could have been helping had I found even just one person to be, supportive, but through my entire family, not a single one, but all just interested in social status, competitive games, talking bad about behind each other's backs, and it turns out after I've done some researching of my own that there's 49,000 Christian denominations all throughout the world, and all the other major religions have 4 to 6 denominations. So what does that say? There's 49,000 different separate churches that all believe that they're right and that the others are wrong. And that's, to me, that's not even what the book is all about. It's, if Jesus existed and he did walk the earth, he said that the church is within you and that everybody was saved. So why is the Christian religion so evangelical, or the most evangelical of all religions? I know some churches do a lot of good in the community, but there's some that don't do much at all. And everybody free to believe what they want, but it's just, after growing up in the church, I know I've got my morals right because my parents didn't really raise me. It was actually the community and the church. And the scariest part of this whole story is really all we need is more ADHD awareness and a public health initiative of some sort to raise awareness about this.